setting the stage for the interaction this morning. But just before we get to Ed, a word of appreciation here, and that's because over the weekend I received a couple of calls in succession, and they all bothered on appreciation, so much so that I thought I was going to talk a little bit around Ed this morning before the discussion this morning. And that's because I believe as humans, we draw our humanness, our importance, a sense of self-worth from the validation others give us, no matter how special our contribution to society, humanity, and what we do. If we don't receive some appreciation, we feel empty and hopeless. And that's because we're social animals who strive, make the extra efforts, and thrive best by the reward of appreciation, even though we all think that monetary reward is more important. And of course, it's more important, given that the bills have to be paid. But then what truly fills us up inside out is what we can voluntarily give to one another. And so this morning, I'd like to say many thanks to you, Ate Zaria, as well as Deborah Paul, for calling me over the weekend and having that lovely talk with me by phone. It inspired me, to the heavens, and I just felt I should say this. In some way, I can simply inspire someone to the heavens this morning. But you can as well make the effort to inspire someone to the heavens this morning or for today, simply by giving the gift of appreciation. Reward someone appreciatively, and that will do a whole lot of magic without your knowing. Okay, that's that. This morning, we're talking about a peaceful, violence-free, and credible governorship polls. The need for Bayelsa 2019 that is devoid of violence. As we draw close to Bayelsa 2019, it becomes clear that nothing, absolutely no message, is more important than the message about the forthcoming polls coming up successfully and peacefully. Here is a good place to begin. Election generally reflects people power. It's that simple. And the electoral process only facilitates transmitting of that power. Therefore, an election marred by violence does not only undermine its credibility, it confers power that does not emanate from the people. Better still, it confers power to the wrong person. In other words, electoral violence tilts and distorts the collective will. This is basic enough. But if the elections must be credible, above board, and therefore generally reflective of the will of the people, then the process must be peaceful, violence-free, and without hitches. And this is critically important. We cannot overemphasize its importance. In fact, no number of times dedicated to talking about the need for a peaceful, violence-free election is enough. This is my considered opinion. A peaceful election may not necessarily be a free and fair election, though it can contribute in no small way to making the process acceptable. And when acceptable, credible as well, I guess. We acknowledge that an array of factors can undermine the process, but none can dent it beyond redemption the way violence can. This is my opinion as well, and especially when the violence involves human lives. Now, you see why this must be taken as a campaign of its own. It's preachment, and we should all be evangelical about it. It requires all hands on the table, or if you like, on the deck, but I prefer table. And while the stakeholders of the process, especially those responsible for ensuring peace and security, are urged to give stellar performance of their task, we all can contribute to such a peaceful, violence-free process. If we refuse to vent our rage despite the provocation, if we hurriedly intervene in a situation that has the potential of boiling over, and if we can exercise a most important virtue, patience, especially when we need patience to proceed smoothly, I think all of these can contribute to ensuring a peaceful, credible polls. And this is important. It is important because the violence will be fomented by Bayelsans. and Bayelsans and the numbers would be the ones to bear the brunt of that violence, I guess. And so this morning, call us up and have your say. It's what we should be talking about this morning. I know a lot of persons have talked about the need for peaceful, violence-free, credible polls, but then it's never enough, and it cannot be enough. I equally understand that legendary Two-Face Adibia, in collaboration with a whole host of NGOs, have brought the message of peace, vote, election, no be war kind of campaign to Bayelsa. And the point is, are we truly listening? Do we consider it important? What can we do individually and collectively to ensure that elections are not marred in any way to the point of distorting our collective will? That's that, and just call us up and have your say. It's. I believe it's going to be exciting. Call us up on the number 0906 42 8987 0906 402 8987 and have your say on to this edition of the program dedicated to interactively discussing the need for peace, violence-free, and credible governorship polls that is tagged Bayelsa 2019, Bayelsa 2019 that is devoid of violence. Call us up and have your say. It's our collective destiny that is at stake, and you have a right to have your say, and importantly, to contribute to making sure that the will of the people is secure. Hello.
Hello. Good morning, sir.
Good morning.
This is Mr. Zakapu calling you from Bayelsa.
You're welcome.
Yes, sir. So what I want to say is that this coming election, I want to give a piece of advice to all the politicians and also to the non-politicians, so we that is quoting them, is that when they shouldn't take this election as tea and buy affair. That whosoever in every country or in every compass there is a winner. So there should have this awareness that anyone that fails, let the person should go home with his failure head. They shouldn't take their failure head to bring problems to this our society. Most of the time, it is the leaders that are in the problem of this our nation. The reason why they are doing all this is because the spirit of ability. No matter what, or in any context, there is a winner and there is also a loser. So my advice to all the leaders that they should not even buy guns to all the people that are following them. They should not even give them any arm or any harmful ammunition to come and destroy human lives, because human life is very important. It's very important to each and every one of us. Money of a thing, it comes and goes. Money comes in and money disappears. So they should not, because of dead paper, trying to kill, waste lives. So some people are saying this man is a strong man from his youth. No, we should not do that. Even people talk are making these politicians to be having morale. So it's not like that. So this is my piece of advice to all the politicians. And even if they come with a bad motive and modus operandi, we are not going to follow them. Thank you, sir. Mr. Zakapu, calling from President Community.
Many thanks, Zagakbu, for calling in and by your calls. Certainly, the floodgates of calls have been opened. A whole lot of calls will begin to come in. Yeah, exactly. Hello.
Good morning to you, my very good friend.
Good morning, Zion.
This is Mr. Zion. I'm calling you from the Taproot Trufani community, to be precise. And I want to use this medium to also thank this media house to dedicate themselves to bring such issues to be discussed at a time like this. For a particular state like Bayelsa, and for peculiar people as Ijo Nation. Do you know that in this country, Nigeria, state elections are more violent than national elections? And that call for a serious concern. The men or the people or the political parties who have the privilege to go to the polls, what have they done? What is their action? What has been their recommendation for their teaming believers and supporters or followers, as the case may be? Let me be honest to you. Average political party in Nigeria is going to the polls to rig it. Average political party in Nigeria. They go to the polls for rigging. And when they fail, they now tend to resort to violence, either by ballot snatching or destruction of the ballot paper or interrupting the electoral process. And this now calls for the security agency, where to a large extent, amidst the billions of naira being earmarked as budget. That's a budget? No, it's not budget. Being earmarked for security in our elections, I would say such monies have never met up or have never been accounted for after elections. So what are the security agencies, what are they doing with this money? Amidst the billions we gave to them, taxpayers' money, yet we are still recording violence. Grievous violence that can even lead to the death of life, to the death of family members, disruption of properties. I want to use this medium as a solution to these problems, calling on the Nigerian police and other security agencies, especially here in Bayelsa State. I guess the Commissioner of Police is listening. If we can give out a toll-free number where we can call in case of any flash of violence, and a rapid response team that can meet up to the immediate actions that are going on, I think to a large extent we will solve this issue of electoral violence in Bayelsa State. And I want to see a security agency that is uncompromised, a security agency that are not handicapped, or they are not political, or working for any political party, a security agency that should be neutral or apolitical at a time like this and for Bayelsa State, so that for once we can curb this violence, for once we can investigate such crime and arrest the perpetrators for them to face the consequences of their crime. Because if you can do the time, of course, you can also face the jail terms too. So I want to call on the Nigerian police that he or other security sister agencies, that they should come together, give us a rapid response team and a toll-free number which Bayelsans can call in times of problem, not only during the election, before, during, and after the elections. Mr. Zion, calling you from the Taproot Trofani community to be precise.
Many thanks indeed, Zion, for calling in. Always appreciate your calls and your contributions to this show. We've come to that point where we'll observe our fast break for commercials, and so we'll take a pause and quickly take a couple of commercials, and when we come back we'll continue to take our calls. That's Rise and Shine, Glory FM 97.1 this lovely Thursday morning. Stay with us.